Perhaps you or a loved one is in need of professional help with substance use or mental health, and I've got Paige Tuck with Synergy Recovery Center here for more on that. Paige, how are you? Good to see you again.
I'm great, thank you.
So first of all, how would someone know that they may need some help?
So we kind of look at three areas. So really noticing your emotional state. So noticing if you're experiencing depression, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, or just a lot of stress, and then kind of noticing your cognitive state and like having problems like making decisions and concentrating and maybe having ruminating thoughts or just consumed with thoughts. And then lastly, kind of looking at your physical health, noticing sleeping, am I sleeping too much? Am I not getting enough sleep? Eating, your appetite, has that changed? And just your self-care in general.
So with that, how would you know maybe what like your normal ups and downs are versus maybe something a little bit more mental health related?
Yeah, so we're all, like as human beings, we can experience some really uncomfortable emotions. We can have sadness and anger and frustration and embarrassment and guilt. But when these become really persistent and it is really interfering with what you want to do with your day and you feel like you're just stuck, so that would be a sign that I might need to seek professional help and learn some coping mechanisms to deal with these thoughts and feelings I'm experiencing.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's something that is so important to note because I think a lot of us do kind of confuse maybe what the difference may be, and maybe we kind of like push down the real problem because we're like, oh no, it's fine. I'm just having a bad day. And it's like, no, it really could be something more. So if someone is maybe experiencing that, they're like, hey, I want to kind of look at some of the services Synergy is offering. Kind of what does that entail? What are they going to get if they're going to come and maybe do an intake type thing with you?
Sure. So we'll do a full biosocial assessment, and that entails just looking at everything from your medical to your family dynamics to your social structures to get a really good understanding of what that person. So we want to treat have an understanding of the whole person, and then understanding what are your treatment goals and allowing them to be a part of that. And those assessments can also to look at the range of that. Is this a mild, is this moderate, is this severe? And so it can determine what level of care you might need to seek.
Another big thing with all of this is support, right? And so it's like a lot of us are walking on these very kind of individual mental health journeys, but a lot of times we don't have the right support. So how can loved ones, let's say it's maybe a spouse in the home or mom, dad, kids, whatever that looks like, friends, how are they able to kind of best help us through this?
Yeah. So I think having those conversations, and they're hard sometimes, they're uncomfortable, but really being honest with your loved ones and what you're experiencing and approaching it with I want to have an understanding versus I'm going to try to fix this, but really being open and not judging the person, but not being okay with the behaviors either. And so just to let that person know that you're there for them and you're not going to ignore what's going on.
Yeah. So let's say there's someone who's maybe on that mental health journey, but maybe they're not as open or they don't really know maybe how to get that conversation started with a loved one. What is something what are maybe some signs or warning signs, if you will, that a loved one should be looking for with that person?
Yeah. So like I've said before, kind of changes in the mood and the routines and maybe some isolation, change of friends, not being able to perform, making excuses, kind of feeling like your loved ones aren't maybe being honest with themselves and you. And you just will have that feeling that there's something off and just not ignoring those signs.
Yeah. Now, aside from maybe the initial conversation and just kind of general encouragement, what can our loved ones do to specifically help in these situations?
Sure. Taking care of yourself. And then, seeking out some resources. So learning about maybe what they're going through. So being, educating yourself in that. There's a great support group. So an Al-Anon support group. There's Smart Family and Friends. And it is a wonderful program. It comes with a workbook and it's based on evidence-based practices of rational emotive behavioral therapy. So that gives you a lot of tools in communication and way to approach your loved ones and to make sure that you're not enabling people.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Now, with that though, kind of what are ways in which you could be enabling behaviors for these loved ones that we have?
Sure. And we don't mean to do this. But it kind of goes with our natural tendency, is especially for parents, like we want to provide, we want to keep people safe, we want to make sure that they have everything they need. But there's times where the enabling, if you're, especially if in substance use, that you could be prolonging them and keeping with that substance use. And providing financial means, making excuses for them, keeping secrets, covering for them with work or school. And so that just prolongs them, really experiencing the natural consequences of what they're going through.
Yeah, and I feel like a healthy way to kind of maybe avoid that, depending on the situation, would be setting a boundary. What would you advise on kind of setting a boundary with that person?
So a boundary can be both the way that you're going to be treated and or what's going to be acceptable in your home. And so to understand that, if this continues, that we can't have this in our home. And, if people are in early recovery when they return back home, both for parties to know that, if it's alcohol, that they can't be, accessible in that home or want to be around people that are partaking in that. So it's really about these conversations to have about how can we best support and make sure that we're taking care of each other and having respect for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Now to focus on kind of an upward trend, how would you say, like, what are some maybe brief things you can tell me factors-wise on kind of just how to improve our overall like health and happiness?
Yeah. So it's really three factors. It's about the way that you feel like about yourself and how and if you're being like if you're feeling that you're a productive member of the society and that you're able to contribute, but having these relationships in your life, it's about connections with people that you trust and that you can confide in and you experience life with. That is bringing us our ultimate happiness, is connection.
Yeah, it makes all the difference. And the whole point of this really is that we want everyone to experience that health and happiness out there. So if we have viewers out there who are in need of the services that you're offering, how do they go about getting a hold of you all?
Sure, they can go to our website. We have Synergy Recovery Center, Synergy Counseling Center, and Synergy Executive. So we do the 3 levels of care, which is residential treatment, and then we can do an outpatient program or just general counseling. And so at the residential level, they're going to be treated with a medical director and a psychiatrist, where we're looking at all those aspects and being treated in that facility. And all our counselors are licensed professional counselors, and we just have a great team.
Yeah, sounds like it. Paige, thank you so much for being here. Synergy Recovery Systems, give them a call, contact them, and get the help that you need.